Hey folks, we're standing at the sander to begin our process of cleaning this puppy up. Now, the most important thing first off is to make sure that on the inside of this box, these four corners, here, up here, down here, and over here, have no glue in them at all. Those corners must be completely cleaned. So use a chisel. If there's any glue in there, scrape it out. All four corners, okay? Then we want to sand our drawers. Right now, your drawers kind of look like this. They got a glue seam on them, they're rough looking. We want to sand them so they look like this, nice and smooth, okay? And here's our trick on this box, ladies and gentlemen. We have on this back drawer 3 tapers, one on each side and one on the top. So now what we must do is, once we've sanded it smooth, is we must whittle away at these 3 edges to make this drawer fit into the back of this box as seamlessly as we possibly can, okay? So this takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of handwork, but I've already started the process. So now I push this in, I've sanded it, and look at how far in it goes. I've sanded that much already. But when I look at it, I still got a gap on this side over here. So I'm looking at that gap. It's a little bit uneven to the top. Here's how you start when you go to the bottom. At the top. Clean them up. Right on that back edge. That's it. Working those down. Now we have to go to the bandsaw and then to the drill press. Okay folks, this is our release mechanism. So right now, take a pencil out and we're going to slice off the top edge of this. Now I'm just making a dot now on each so I know where it goes back together again. Put it back in place and hold on to this so we don't lose it. Now we go to the drill press. The drill press, folks, we're going to drill a hole through this, through the box, into this drawer. So we push our drawer in nice and tight and snug as we can. Put our release in there. I use a little clamp. Put it down on there so that piece can't rise up. Now I've already set the depth on this to go most of the way through, not out the bottom. So I got to hold that drawer in place, and I'll come in about 1/8 of an inch from the end. That is our hole for our pin to lock it up. Now we need a 1/2 inch bit. This was a I get the 9/64. Or 7/64, I'm sorry. 1/2 inch bit, that's for our spring. Now our spring must be drilled in line with where our hole is. And pretty much I suggest you drill it about the depth of the bit itself, just a little under that. That's our hole for our spring. So we have our hole for our locking pin and the hole for the spring. That ends our drilling. Now we must make a locking pin to go in the box. And 1/8 inch dowel stick, but it is a Chinese 1/8 inch dowel stick, so it's a little bit bigger than what we use. That's why we use the bigger bit. So we got to put a point on this. Here's our point. That's going to be our release pin. Now we go back and glue this together. Now we have our spring. This is a 1/2 inch coil spring, standard hardware item. And what I like to do is to take the bottom edge of it and kind of stretch it out a little bit, make it bigger. And I work it into the drawer there, okay? And that way it stays. Now here we have the little piece we cut off the top, remember? So that's going to give us, when we glue it back together, what's called a blind hole. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot some glue and fill the blind hole up first. Put my pin in. Wipe most of the glue off. Set that cover back in place. Hold it down and wipe it out. And clamp it in place. Now we let that dry for a... We're back to the bandsaw for our last cutting on this box, which may surprise you just a little bitty bit. We'll see how you do with that in just a minute. Okay, we have our pin in and our false top glued on, so we have a blind hole no one can see. So now sometimes you gotta sand a little bit. So you can sand on the back, you can sand on the sides, but you cannot sand on the front. Sanding on the front will screw up the way your drawer sits in the box. So back and sides, you can make them smaller. Now let's see if it fits in there. See, my drawer's got a spring in it now, so I push it in. Turn it off. Now, got a little more sanding done, and let's see now how it fits. Very nice, nice and snug, but it still removes well. So, you see what we've got on the back of this box now. See where the drawer is? So we got to cut the back of the box off. That is why we left our back so thick here. So we put our lid, an inside lid on, and now we go back to the bandsaw. Okay guys, we're going to cut the back off here in line with this drawer. Now let's take it back to the sander and finish it up. Okay, we're back at the sander. We're going to sand this puppy up and finish it. Now, I'm going to talk for a minute because you're not going to hear me well with the sander and the vacuum on. Our first sanding job is going to be to smooth out this back end, then to sand the entire box. Now, I bring it down and I move it back and forth gently. Turn it around and back and forth gently. Every sanding operation I do two directions. I do it this way, and I do it this way. And I go back and forth until I get to where I want to be, sanding-wise, smoothness. I go back and forth because every person is right-handed or left-handed, so we naturally pull to our dominant side. And if you go back and forth, you're not going to change the shape of the piece, and you don't want to change the shape, because if you change the shape of this, then everything that connects to it has to be changed to match it. So we go back and forth on each operation. Now once I've got the body done, every key must have about 12 thousandths of an inch sanded off the bottom to make them fit. Plus the sides where the blade came through, it'd be a little tear out. They have to be sanded to match. So you can see our drawers in place. I'm going to turn on the vacuum, turn on the sander, and let's see how we can fix this puppy up. Holding my lid in place. Back and forth. got my back pretty well smooth. Take my top off right now. And I'm going to finish the rest of the body. See my truck? Side. Their body's in pretty good shape now. Back door back. What we're doing here is matching the lid to the box. So the lid now perfectly matches our box. There we go, perfect height, that's right. Now we look for the end with tear out. One end will be clean, one end will have tear out. Okay, on that one first. Make sure we get all the tear out of it. These in. Still a little bit long. Another run off over here. Perfect. Next key. Stick out a little bit on the front. Again, we look for, here's our tear out, nice clean. Out the bottom, and then we're going to run around. Okay, folks, what have we made? Hot doggone, look at that. Okay, we unlock, right? We slide. And we unlock. And we slide. And we unlock. We slide. And we unlock. And we slide. And we open. And we got our Because We Can box with a drawer. We have our spring drawer. In our magnetic drawer, you hit the box on the bum, and out she comes. That is called a spring safe. It's a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy it. It's one of my favorite boxes to make. I've probably taught more people at Mark Adams School of Woodworking to make this particular box than any other piece I make, because it's a joyful piece. It's just a wonderful thing. So, God bless y'all. We'll get through this. Keep a smile up. Remember, sawdust kills coronavirus. Breathe as much as you can. God love yous. Take care.